We want to know how to protect our kids, how to prevent bad things from happening to them. But if recent times have taught us anything, it's that our resources are way better spent on building the resilience, the mental flexibility, and the confidence that we've got them no matter what happens. Welcome to Parenting Successful Teens. I'm Allie Irwin, and I'm here to remind you that you are already a great mom. I know that parenting teens is hard, but it doesn't have to be this hard. Listen in, and I'll teach you how to feel confident that you can handle whatever parenthood throws at you, and even make it fun. Yes, fun. I love this phase of life, and you can too. One of the things that people tell me all the time is, or one of the things people ask me all the time is, how do I get my kids to tell me things? How do I get my kids to talk to me beyond one-word answers? And what's really underneath that, there's a couple of things. One is that parents just want connection with their kids. And of course we do. That's totally normal. And learning to get connection in a variety of ways, that's going to serve you all day long. Because you can definitely feel connected while your child is giving you one-word answers, okay? Being able to develop that feeling of connection independent of what you're talking about with your kids or how much you're talking even, that is definitely a skill worth having. And that is not the topic of today's podcast. Today's podcast is really about the desire parents have for their kids to tell them things so that they can protect their kids. So, that they can know where their kids are at, if problems are developing early. And again, that is a totally normal thing to want to do. It's a good thing to want to do. There's some nuance to it that I think is worth exploring, and that's what we're going to do today. So the first thing I want to say, in response to, I want my kids to tell me more things, tell me what's really going on, is some of you really don't, right? You want your kids, and I hear this in conversations when I'm just out in the world and I hear parents talking to their kids will tell their parents something, and then their parents will immediately brightside it. They will tell their child why whatever it is that's bothering their child is not really a problem. Okay? So many parents want their kids to tell them things, but then the minute they do, the parents kind of dismiss what their kids are saying or say why it's not so bad or such a big deal. Or I can hear the parents only hearing what they wanted to hear in what the kids say. They're missing the whole subcontext of what their child is saying because they're only hearing what they want to hear. So again, when you say I want my kids to tell me things, it's worth thinking, am I really open to hearing what's actually happening? The second point is how your kids tell you things matters. So some parents want their kids to tell them things to the point where they're willing to use some form of punishment or threat if the kids don't. And even that punishment can be disappointment or withdrawal. There can be lots of different ways that parents subtly and not so subtly manipulate their kids in order to extract information. And there was a really interesting study that was in the Journal of Youth and Adolescence last year. It came out in 2022. And the study was titled, "How Do Adolescents Manage Information in the Relationship with Their Parents? A Latent Class Analysis of Disclosure, Keeping Secrets, and Lying." And what that study looked at was how parents get the information they have matters a lot. And what it made me think of is, you know how they say, like, we shouldn't torture prisoners, not just for moral reasons, but because any information gained through torture is unreliable information. If you've ever watched like a spy drama, that comes up. And really the same thing is with our kids. Like if we are torturing our kids to get the information that we want, like things learned by coercion have very different outcomes than things offered freely. Okay, so there's almost very little point if your goal is to protect your children. There's almost very little point in getting them to tell you things through, sort of coercive measures. Okay. Obviously, there's nuance there. Like if you think your child is in physical danger or emotional danger or, psychological danger, then absolutely use your judgment here. But if you are pressuring your child to tell you something, then in many ways you're creating boundary violations that are going to cause other problems. And you're also setting them up in a situation where it benefits them to lie to you. Okay, so let's not do that. So how do you get your kids to tell you things if you're not using coercion? Coercion is probably a pretty strong word, but hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to say. So the first way that you do that is you have to build your own comfort with not knowing. Okay? Not knowing everything that's going on with your kids creates space for them to share what they are comfortable sharing. And it helps them begin to draw boundaries around themselves in really age-appropriate ways. Okay? So you have to build your comfort that you're not going to know everything about their life like you used to. Maybe you used to pick them up from school and then they just chattered all the way home and like you heard everything what was going on, like almost too much sometimes. And now you're not getting that and you miss it. So you have to build, but it's age appropriate for them to start to build boundaries around what they share. And we want our kids to have appropriate boundaries. Okay? The second thing is to build your comfort with knowing uncomfortable things and knowing those things without immediately trying to fix them. Okay? That is a skill. That is a skill that you can build in yourself, is that tension of knowing that your child has a problem happening that you could easily fix and then not fixing it unless you're asked, and not offering advice unless you're asked, or even asking them if they want your advice, and then when they say no, just being comfortable with that. Okay? That is how we teach our kids. That's how our kids learn to solve their own problems. And it's how they learn to live with the consequences of the choices they make. Okay, this is very challenging for parents because we love our kids so much that we don't want them to suffer. And I can't even tell you how many times my kids have had problems that I could solve pretty easily with just like a phone call or two. And I've had to totally stay out of it because they've wanted to handle things themselves. Okay? And that is not just me being, I hate this word, but like a Karen who's going to call and complain. No, these are times when even like I had the financial resources to solve a problem for them that was not of their own making, but they were still having to handle. And they didn't want me to. And so I had to let them, in my mind, suffer through this problem that wasn't their fault, that I could have easily taken care of. but they didn't want my help. And them figuring out how to solve this thing themselves has helped them so much in their adult life. Let me give you a quick example. So while my daughter was in college, she got in a car accident. And because it was a pandemic, it absolutely took forever for her car to get fixed. And she lived off campus, so she had to take the bus. I'm laughing because I have so many stories about this. She had to take the bus to school. And the bus was pretty unreliable. And so she just kept getting in all of these difficult situations where she was like walking to school in this area that did not have, it had traffic and not safe sidewalks, or forget safe sidewalks, it didn't have sidewalks. Or she'd be on the bus and the bus would be late, lost, and it would be really late. And she just got in all these situations. And I wanted to rent her a car so much, but she did not want my help. She's so proud of the fact that she bought this car with her own money, and she found the shop, and she was taking care of this whole situation. You can hear the laughter in my voice now that, it's all past. But at the time, it was so hard for me to stay out of it. But so I just had to build my comfort with being uncomfortable with this situation. Okay, I'm like, if this is your situation right now, I want you to know you have my sympathy 4,000%, because staying out of it is very, very hard. But if you want to know uncomfortable things about your kids, you have to get comfortable with knowing those things without jumping in to fix them. And the way that we do this, both building our comfort with not knowing and building our comfort with knowing uncomfortable things, is by building our own trust in our instincts about what's a thing and what's not a thing. Okay? And the more that you build your own trust in your own instincts, the more it's almost like the things that are not a thing. This is my sort of sensory experience. Maybe yours is different, but it's almost the what's not a thing is kind of dimmer in my mental image of what's happening. And the what's a thing is brighter or louder or bolder in some way. By building trust in my instincts, now I can almost see the difference as it's happening when I tune into it. Okay? And that is 100% available to you as well. And I know that because I've taken so many clients through the process, and they never believe me at the beginning. And then they do it for a while and they're like, holy cow, I can actually feel what to let go and what to get involved with. And that is an amazing capability worth having, totally worth developing. Okay? The last piece is, in order to build that comfort level, what you want to be doing is building your trust in their abilities. I'm going to say that again. You want to build your trust in their abilities. Okay? And the way that you do that is by allowing them to demonstrate their abilities over and over and over. And you can practice that, building your trust in their abilities on really small things, so you don't have to wait until something big goes wrong. You can do it on small things. You can notice all the ways that they're super capable. It's a really common question when people come to me and we're talking about what's going on with their children, and they're like, oh, I just feel like he's so lazy about his homework. And then we look around in their child's life for an area where they're not lazy, where they are able to, maybe practice an instrument or a sport, or maybe they always show up to work 5 minutes early. There's multiple areas in their life where they're not lazy, and helping the parent build that trust that they have the capability to not be lazy, to work hard, or to throw themselves into something that they care about, like that's already there. They just weren't seeing it because they're so worried about this one area. And once we build the parents' trust in their child's ability, then it's easier for the child to see their trust in their abilities like reflected in their parents' eyes. Okay? This is such an amazing gift that you can give yourself and your kids. So I know that we all want to prevent bad things from happening to our kids. But what I really want you to take away from today's pod is the idea that your resources are better spent building the resilience, the mental flexibility, and the confidence to know that we've got them no matter what happens. And the way that we do that is we deepen our own self-trust. We improve our own self-talk. We practice believing that you will know what to do when you need to know it and have the power to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. Okay, I add those kind of time caveats because I don't always know what to do, but I do always know what to do when I need to know it. Oftentimes when I don't know exactly what to do, like the situation needs to play out a little bit more. I need a little bit more information, but I have never, not once, not known what to do when something needed to be done. And I know that the same is true for you. Okay? The people we feel the most safe around have a high level of self-trust. We trust them because they trust themselves. Our trust mirrors their self-trust. And that is what I want you to develop. That's what I want you to offer your kids. If you want your kids to tell you things, then you have to have a high level of self-trust that you can handle whatever it is that they tell you, and that you will know what to do when it needs to be done, even if that what to do is literally to do nothing. That is how you get your kids to tell you things voluntarily. And if you need help developing that self-trust, I want to be the one to help you. I love moms with my whole heart because they love their families with their whole heart. And when I help a mom, I know that just ripples out through their families, through the communities, through the generations, and it is my favorite thing to do. So if you need help building your resilience, building your self-confidence, building your self-trust, you can find me at allieirwin.com. And as always, if you'd like to support the podcast, if you're loving these and want more, you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/Allie Irwin. Talk to you next week.